What's up, everybody? I'm coming back with another video here, and this time I've got an interesting experiment that I'm going to do with the Thorogood Legacy and the Thorogood Genesis, which right now is Thorogood's two widest and biggest toe box boots that they currently make. Both boots are definitely bigger and wider and taller. The Legacy toe box to me is taller than the Genesis toe box, and if you look side by side, you can kind of see, like, here's the top, and then it comes over to here on the Legacy, and then the Legacy's up that much taller. So the Legacy probably still has the biggest and roomiest toe box of the Thorogood USA made boots. And so what's got me perplexed a little bit now is how much wider or narrower is each insole, because the insoles have to be obviously cut to fit the shape of the boot and the width in most cases. So I know the Thorogood Genesis has a very unique insole, and when I done the review of the boot, I pulled that insole out and I showed how crazy and unique it was. Very very unique. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is pull these insoles out and we'll see if there's a difference. So I'm gonna pull the insole out of the Genesis first. So here's that insole out of the Genesis, and as you can see where I've been wearing the boot, it's starting to develop the fuzz at the very tip where your feet don't touch, but it's like the fuzz off your socks builds up over time. But here's that Genesis outsole, which you can see is a rather wider profile of an insole than just a standard boot insole. And you've got all those different layers of material that's used. This right here is what perplexes me the most, is this hard spot right here. This is acts like it's for arch support, and it kind of acts like what a shank would do in a boot. It provides support. But so just out of context, this is the Legacy insole, and you can see the amazingly deep heel cup that this insole has to help lock your heel in place. It's kind of like a podiatrist designed this insole. I think that's how you pronounce that. Podiatrist. There we go. It's a podiatrist designed insole, kind of. So that's the Genesis insole. Now, what I'm going to do now is we're going to pull the insole out of the Legacy, which should have a Thorogood USA insole, but I'm wondering if it's different. When I done the original review of this boot when it was brand new, I don't remember pulling the insole out. So we're going to pull this insole out and see if they just put a regular a regular Thorogood USA insole in there, or if, because it's such a much bigger, wider toe box, they had to do a new insole shape to fit the boot better. So I got the insole out of the Legacy. So let's take a look here and see what the differences are, if there's any differences. So here's the insole out of the Legacy, and as you can see, it is just a normal USA insole as you would find in the mock toes, the Wellingtons, basically every other heritage boot that Thorogood makes in their heritage line. Pretty much all get the same insole, and it's the Thorogood USA insole. You got your 2 gel pads in the ball of the foot and in the heel. And it just says, made in USA with globally sourced components. It's not as deep of a heel cup. And it definitely doesn't have that center hard plastic that creates arch support. So, now this is not a bad insole. By no means. This insole will last pretty much the life of the boot and beyond. I've not changed the insoles out of my first pair of Thorogood boots that I've bought. Well, I didn't buy them. I got them for my birthday, but when I got those for my birthday, that's been probably several years ago, and they still have the factory Thorogood USA insoles. So these insoles definitely last and hold up for the test of time. Now, they may not, be everybody's favorite insole because of how their foot's shaped or, this, that, or the other. But for me, it's definitely the best, one of the best insoles on the market for my feet. And then, of course, Thorogood came out with this for their Genesis, and it was like, that was like a whole new meaning of insoles. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lay the Thorogood USA insole, which is just the standard insole that they put in all their heritage boots, and lay it on top of the Genesis insole and see if there's truly a width difference. And I don't know how the best way to capture this is, but I'll try my best here with what I can do. So I've got it laid up on top here. And as you can see, the Genesis insoles on the bottom and the USA insoles on the top. And I'm not sure if the lighting, there we go. So the lighting, you can see you've got I'm just trying to make sure I got the insoles lined up on top of each other, but you can actually see through the whole insole actually is a little bit wider. And the only part of the insole that kind of matches up is at the very tip. It's not really that much of a difference, but as far as the width is down through the whole length of the insole, the insole is actually a little bit wider. So what insole would be better in what boot? There is a possibility with the shape of the Legacy boot that you could probably put Genesis insoles in the Legacy boot and it would probably work better than the USA insole, which is just your standard size insole. It's not any wider, but I'm gonna still stick with, the Genesis insoles and the Genesis boot and the USA insole and the Legacy boot where they belong. There's not that much of a difference in noticeable width as for the insole. I think when Thurgood came up with the Genesis series, they boasted about the boot being about 49% wider overall. And with the way these insoles stack up, I mean, you can kind of see that 49% is throughout the overall length of the whole insole. So you see, holding them side by side, you get 49% wider insole. So the boot itself is claiming to be, 45% wider than a traditional heritage boot. And that seems to be the case for the most part, except the Legacy's toe box to me is taller. It's a taller profile than the Genesis boot. So, and what that means is upon impact of something, the impact is going to have a less likely chance of contacting your feet or your toes in the Legacy because it's a taller toe box. And then the Genesis, where it's a flatter profile, there's less room for impact. But they're both nano toes, so I don't think the nano toe will squish like a steel toe. I think a nano toe will bust apart, like it'll crack into pieces with an impact. And they will not stop a chainsaw chain. The nano toes, the chainsaw chain will cut right through the nano toe like it's not there. So you can still cut your feet. And that's why they say don't, use comp toe boots or, anything but a steel toe boot will run a chainsaw, because the steel chain of the chainsaw can't cut through the steel toe cap of a boot. At least not for a while. I mean, you're going to dull the blade like crazy. It would probably go through it eventually just because of how thin it is, but the main thing is that it will not cut through it for a long enough time that you can stop and realize what you're doing. So I think that's the moral of that story. So that's very perplexing to me. I would have thought the Legacy last shape would require a much wider insole so that your toes ain't hanging off the edge of the insole. Now, if you look, the USA insole, which is the one I have in my hand, if you look at my toe pattern where my toes set on the footbed, my pinky toe and the edge of my foot is literally right on the edge of the insole. Like if it was over just a millimeter, probably half a millimeter farther, it would be rolling off the edge of the insole. And so that's kind of like where these things are. It's the reason that most boots for people with wide feet, the insoles aren't wide enough in most cases, because they use the same insoles for every width of the boot. And as you can see, my feet are wide enough that they run literally right on the edge, right there. Now, the Genesis insole, we'll compare how my feet set on them. And my toe is right here. My little toe is setting right there, which means the edge of my foot is going to be kind of like right through here, which means there's still a smidge of room, not much, but there's more of an insole left to stand on than what this one offers. But neither one of them, my toes and the edge of my foot doesn't roll off the sides. But when you're dealing with wide feet, you need a wide insole. And the Genesis actually provides that extra width. What's interesting too is with this pattern, as you can see, you know, how much of the boot is left, that my toes are, you know, my toes aren't all the way to the end. Like, yeah, this boot could probably be a half size shorter, but a half size in length is a 1/16 of an inch, and a whole size is an 1/8 of an inch. So there's not a lot of difference. But when it comes to the width of a boot, if the boot is not offering a wider width, then if you go up one size, it makes the boot wider, which is something I always found hard to believe for a long time, but it really does. And it's just an 1/8 of an inch, but an eighth of an inch can make a difference in some people. And there's probably going to be some hilarious comments off of that. You know, the 1/8 of an inch isn't that much of a difference, but you know, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But if you want to go down that rabbit hole, that's your business, not mine. But anyway, I just figured I would do that video so we can see the difference, because these, like I said, these are Thorogood's 2 widest toe box models of boots that they make right now. And I found that quite interesting, that even the Legacy still runs the traditional USA Thorogood insole, and the Genesis is the only one that got essentially an insole upgrade, I guess you could say. We don't know how long this insole will last yet. We do know how long these last, because these have been around for these have been around forever. Like everybody knows this insole. It's been around so long, it's instantly recognizable. And we know these will last pretty much the lifetime of the boot. These are still questionable. It has a lot of technology in it, and it has a lot of different densities of, you know, the foam rubber and the gel rubber and stuff. There's multiple densities going on here. There's multiple materials going on here. This plastic, I don't know what type of plastic it's made from, so its longevity is still, you know, largely questionable. Could it possibly crack in two over time? I would think so. I mean, if you do a lot of like manual shovel work and you're kicking a shovel all day, I could see the shovel cutting through that middle part of the insole and then cracking this in two. I could definitely see that. But there are boots that are made, you know, if you do a lot of shovel work, you can buy boots that have a steel shank in them, and that tends to help alleviate that shovel work tearing your boots up to a degree. It's still going to cut your soles up, but so yeah, the timing will tell on these, but what I can see already is the Thorogood logo on the Genesis insole is kind of already starting to peel away and peel up. So that logo is not going to last quite the length, I don't figure. And the logo that's on these ones tends to hold up better. And it looks to me like the two logos are the exact same stamping material. I can't imagine it being that much different, but this one here, I know I don't have as much wear on the Legacy as I do the Genesis, so that's going to be a big difference too. But this logo is also bigger on the USA insole, and then on the Genesis it's smaller. But I don't know. Well, like I said, time will tell a tale of how long these insoles last, other than the USA insole. That time has already told that tale, but time will have to tell a tale on these ones. So yeah, it looks like with the Genesis insole, Thorogood's claim of 49% wider is actually true. It's just, you have to realize that they're counting the whole length of the insole, not just, just right here where your foot's the widest, or, any other specific part. It's through the whole insole. But yeah, it's literally through the whole length of the insole is where the 49% comes into play. We'll put these insoles back in the boots. It hasn't been raining a lot around here lately, so I haven't been, and it's not been very cold. It's, been in the 80s during the day and upper 60s at night, so I haven't gotten to wear my waterproof boots very much lately, just because the weather hasn't been right for them lately. You would think this time of year it would start to get colder, but make sure that insole's seated down in there all the way. Now, as far as between these two, which ones would I see myself wearing the most? Probably going to be the Legacies, just because it's still a traditional welded boot, and the outsole I know is replaceable. The boot, the whole everything is recraftable on these boots, and the Legacy, or the Genesis, is not a rebuildable boot. Where it's a direct attach, that boot is basically whatever the sole lasts, and then it's done. You gotta replace the whole boot, and that's just one of those points that for its price point, a lot of people, it's not going to make a lot of sense. I mean, the Genesis is easily, they're, depending on where you buy them from, I've seen them anywhere from $260 to $280. And there's a lot of traditionally Goodyear welded boots that are resolable and everything, literally for the same money. So to have this, not resolable for the same money as this, which is it's, you know, a lot of people are probably going to gravitate towards this for the durability and the resolability and the rebuildability aspect of it. But this, what you're paying for is, you know, obviously largely it's American made, just like this one's American made. So that's the majority of the cost on both of them. You know, you have the really thick leathers on both of them. That's a lot of the cost. You have the waterproof lining. That's a lot of the cost. And then with the Genesis, the cost aspect goes into that insole, that podiatrist designed insole. That took Thorogood time and money to produce. They had to do research. They had to do, you know, all kinds of things to design that insole to be what it is. So that is where the cost comes into play, other than the USA made and the materials, you know, the thick leathers and the lining. It was also the research. This one, being at its price point, is largely because of USA made and it's the materials. But because this is a heritage line boot, it is made in the Thorogood traditional way. And the only difference is this has the Vibram. I can get that turned over. So yeah, it has the Vibram outsole on it, which that costs money because Thorogood has to buy that insole from you know, obviously from Vibram to put on their boots, whereas the Maxwear wedge is made by Merrimack, and Thorogood has that relationship with Merrimack to where that outsole is made for Thorogood for really, I would say cheaper than what they would have to pay to get the Vibram outsoles. So that's where the money for this boot is compared to the money for this boot. Different technologies, same type of, you know, same materials overall, but you're talking research time for the insole and to make the outsole. I mean, this is nitrile rubber, and there's a rock stuck in the tread. Got that out. Yeah, this is nitrile rubber. This is what they call race car tire technology, I guess. It's the same rubber that's used on race car tires. It's extra grippy. It's supposed to be really durable and long wearing. There's another rock stuck in the tread. Got that one out. But that's one thing this outsole does really well, is it likes to hold pebble rocks. I don't know about its, you know, mud tacking capabilities. I would imagine as sticky as this rubber feels, it would probably hold mud really well too. So that's something to take notice of. If you plan to wear these in a sloppy environment and get them muddy, you probably don't want to walk in the house with these on, unless you sprayed them off or something first, which is definitely doable. But so there we have it. That's Thorogood's two biggest toe box boots that they currently make, and there's the insole differences between the two. Something that just kind of came to my mind from a comment off of my review video of this boot, the Legacy boot, a commenter actually mentioned about the differences in the insoles and wondering if there was that much of a difference. And so I took it upon myself to find out because I can. So there's the differences. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you don't miss any more of my videos. All my videos are real time. You know, I don't have editing software, so my videos are all just real time. You know, whatever happens, happens. However long the video comes out to be is how long it comes out to be. And to me, it's just easier that way. Like I said, I don't have any fancy computers or editing software or much knowledge on that stuff. So I just figured it's easier just to film the videos in real time, and whatever happens in the videos happens in the videos. It's part of life, I guess you could say. You know, it happens as life happens. So that's where I'm going to leave this one. And we'll catch y'all in the next one. Later.